The marble floors of Sterling Tech Tower gleamed under the morning sun. A man in worn-out janitor's clothes pushed a cleaning cart through the lobby. His name tag read, Danny. Nobody knew that Danny was actually Daniel Sterling, the billionaire owner of the entire building. "Move out of the way," a woman in designer heels snapped as she rushed past him. "You're blocking the elevator." Daniel moved his cart aside without saying a word. He had been doing this for 3 weeks now, working as a janitor in his own company. After 3 failed engagements to women who only wanted his money, he decided to find someone who would love him for who he truly was, not what he owned. His best friend and CFO, Shannon Chen, had called him crazy. "You're worth $3 billion and you're scrubbing toilets. This is insane, Daniel." But Daniel was determined. He wanted to see how people treated someone they considered beneath them. He wanted to find a woman with a genuine heart. If you believe showing kindness is worth it, do me a quick favor. Hit that subscribe button and like this video. It helps more than you know. And drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I love seeing our global family grow. Now, back to the story. It was 7 in the morning when Daniel arrived at the 20th floor. He pulled out his mop and bucket, preparing to clean the executive offices. That's when he saw her. A young woman with curly hair tied in a simple ponytail was already there, cleaning the conference room windows. She wore the same standard-issue janitor's uniform, but she was humming softly as she worked. There was something peaceful about her presence. "Good morning," she called out with a warm smile. Daniel was surprised. Most people didn't acknowledge janitors, let alone greet them. "Good morning," he replied. "You're new, right? I'm Emery Rodriguez. Started here about 6 months ago." "I'm Danny. Just started 3 weeks back." Emery walked over, still holding her cleaning cloth. "Welcome to the team, Danny. It's not the most glamorous job, but the people here are nice. Well, most of them anyway." Daniel smiled. "Most of them?" Emery laughed. "You'll see what I mean soon enough." Just then the elevator doors opened, and out walked Victoria Hayes, the company's head of marketing. She was beautiful, impeccably dressed, and known for her harsh treatment of staff. "You," Victoria pointed at Emery. "Did you clean my office yesterday?" "Yes, ma'am. Is something wrong?" Victoria's voice was cold. "You left streaks on my window. Do you know how important my office appearance is? I have clients visiting today." Emery's face flushed. "I'm so sorry, Miss Hayes. I'll fix it right away." "You're always sorry, but you never improve. Honestly, I don't know why they hire people who can't do simple tasks properly." Daniel watched the exchange, his jaw tightening. He wanted to speak up, to tell Victoria exactly who he was, and that she was speaking to a hard-working employee with more integrity than Victoria would ever have. But he remained silent, observing. Emery simply nodded. "I'll take care of it immediately, ma'am." As Victoria walked away, Emery turned to Daniel. Despite the humiliation, she was smiling. "See what I mean? But it's okay. Everyone has bad days." "She had no right to talk to you that way," Daniel said quietly. Emery shrugged. "I've learned that how people treat you says more about them than about you. Besides, I need this job. My mother is sick, and the medical bills are piling up." Something shifted in Daniel's chest. Here was someone facing real problems, yet she maintained grace and positivity. "I'm sorry about your mother," he said genuinely. "Thank you, Danny. That's kind of you to say." Emery picked up her supplies. "I should go fix that window before I get another lecture." As Emery walked away, Daniel found himself watching her. He had met countless women at charity galas, business dinners, and exclusive clubs. None of them had impressed him the way this janitor girl just did in 5 minutes. Later that afternoon, Daniel was emptying trash bins in the cafeteria when he overheard a conversation. 3 employees from the finance department sat at a nearby table. "Did you hear about the new janitor?" one woman said. "Apparently he's actually pretty good looking under all that scruff." "Please," another replied. "He's a janitor. What's the point of looking at someone with no future?" The third woman laughed. "Exactly. I'd rather die single than date someone who cleans toilets for a living." Daniel felt a familiar disappointment. This was exactly why he had taken on this disguise. People's true colors showed when they thought you had nothing to offer. As he continued working, Emery entered the cafeteria. She was on her lunch break, carrying a small brown bag. "Mind if I join you?" she asked, gesturing to the employee table where Daniel sat alone in the corner. "Please, sit down." Emery unpacked her lunch, a simple sandwich and an apple. "I make my lunch at home. Saves money, you know." "Smart," Daniel replied, genuinely meaning it. They ate in comfortable silence for a moment before Emery spoke again. "So, Danny, what made you take this job?" Daniel had prepared his story carefully. "I needed work. Lost my previous job a few months ago. This was what was available." Emery nodded with understanding. "I get it. Life doesn't always go the way we plan. I was actually in college studying to be a nurse. Had to drop out when my mom got sick. Couldn't afford tuition and medical bills at the same time." "That must have been difficult." "It was," Emery admitted. "But I believe everything happens for a reason. Maybe I'm meant to be here right now. Maybe there's something I need to learn." Her optimism was refreshing. Daniel found himself relaxing, enjoying the simple conversation. "What about you?" Emery asked. "Do you have family?" "My parents passed away a few years ago. Car accident." Emery's hand reached across the table, touching his gently. "I'm so sorry, Danny. That must have been incredibly hard." The touch was brief but genuine. Daniel felt a warmth he hadn't experienced in years. "You're easy to talk to," he said honestly. Emery smiled. "You are too. It's nice having a friend here." Over the next 2 weeks, Daniel and Emery fell into a routine. They would start their mornings together, cleaning different floors but always finding time to chat. During lunch breaks, they would sit together in the cafeteria, sharing stories and laughs. Daniel learned that Emery sent most of her paycheck home to help with her mother's medical treatment. She lived in a tiny studio apartment and walked 40 minutes to work each day to save on bus fare. "Why don't you take the bus?" Daniel asked one day. "The walk is good for me," Emery replied cheerfully. "Plus, I see the sunrise every morning. It reminds me to be grateful." Daniel was falling for her. Not because of her beauty, though she was beautiful in a natural, unassuming way. Not because she impressed him with fancy words or expensive taste, but because of her genuine kindness, her resilience, and the way she treated everyone with respect regardless of their position. One rainy Thursday afternoon, everything changed. Daniel was cleaning the executive floor bathroom when he heard raised voices outside. He stepped into the hallway to investigate. Victoria Hayes stood there with 2 security guards pointing at Emery. "I want her fired immediately," Victoria demanded. "Ms. Hayes, please calm down," one guard said. "What's the issue?" "This incompetent girl broke my Crystal Award. Do you know how much that was worth? It was a gift from the CEO himself." Emery stood there, her uniform wet from rain, her face pale. "Ms. Hayes, I swear I didn't touch your award. I haven't even been in your office today." "Liar!" Victoria's voice echoed through the hallway. "I saw you leaving my office 20 minutes ago." "I was cleaning the conference room next door. I didn't go into your office." Victoria pulled out her phone. "I have half a mind to make you pay for it. That award was worth $5,000. Emery's eyes widened. "I don't have that kind of money." "Then maybe you shouldn't break other people's things." Daniel had seen enough. He stepped forward. "She's telling the truth." Everyone turned to look at him. "Excuse me?" Victoria's eyes narrowed. "And who are you?" "I'm Danny, one of the janitors. I was cleaning this floor all afternoon. Emery was in the conference room the entire time. She never entered your office." Victoria laughed mockingly. "Oh, how cute. The janitors are protecting each other. Security, escort both of them out of the building." "That won't be necessary," a new voice said. Shannon Chen stepped out of the elevator, his expression stern. As CFO, he commanded immediate respect. "Mr. Chen," Victoria's tone changed instantly, becoming sweet and professional. "I was just handling a personnel issue." Shannon looked from Victoria to Emery to Daniel. His eyes lingered on Daniel for just a moment, a silent question. "What seems to be the problem?" Shannon asked. Victoria explained her version of events, painting Emery as careless and dishonest. Shannon listened, then turned to the security guards. Pull up the security footage from Miss Hayes's office for the past 3 hours. Victoria's confident expression flickered. That's not necessary. I insist, Shannon interrupted smoothly. 10 minutes later, they all gathered in the security office. The footage was clear. Emery had never entered Victoria's office. However, the cameras showed Victoria herself knocking the award off her desk with her purse, then quickly leaving the room. The silence was deafening. Ms. Hayes, Shannon said coldly, it appears you broke your own award and attempted to blame an innocent employee. This is grounds for immediate termination. Victoria's face turned red. You can't fire me. I'm head of marketing. Do you know how important I am to this company? You were important, Shannon corrected. Security, please escort Miss Hayes out. She's no longer employed here. As Victoria was led away, still protesting loudly, Shannon turned to Emery. Ms. Rodriguez, I apologize on behalf of Sterling Tech. This should never have happened. Emery looked shocked. Thank you, sir. Shannon nodded, then his eyes met Daniel's again. There was a slight smile on his face before he walked away. Emery turned to Daniel, her eyes filled with gratitude and tears. Thank you for speaking up. You could have lost your job. Some things are worth the risk, Daniel said quietly. That evening, as Daniel returned to his penthouse, a $60 million apartment overlooking the city, he knew he had found what he was looking for. Emery Rodriguez wasn't just kind. She was honest, hardworking, and resilient. She had defended him when no one else would. She had shown him genuine friendship without knowing his true identity. But now came the hard part. How would he tell her the truth? Would she forgive him for the deception? Would she believe that his feelings were real? Shannon called him that night. I saw the footage, Daniel. That girl really defended you. She had no idea who you were and she still stood up for you. I know, Daniel replied, staring out at the city lights. Are you going to tell her? Soon. I need to find the right moment. Don't wait too long, Shannon advised. The truth has a way of coming out on its own, usually at the worst possible time. Daniel knew his friend was right, but he wasn't ready yet. For just a little while longer, he wanted to be Danny the janitor, the man Emery had befriended without any expectations or ulterior motives. The next morning, Daniel arrived at work to find a small, wrapped package on his cleaning cart. Inside was a homemade sandwich and a note in Emery's handwriting. So you didn't bring lunch yesterday. Thought you might be hungry. E. Daniel smiled, carefully folding the note and placing it in his pocket. He had found true love in the most unexpected place. Now he just had to figure out how to keep it. The following week, Daniel decided to take a risk. After their shifts ended, he approached Emery as she was preparing to walk home. Emery, wait, he called out. She turned, smiling as always. Hey, Danny, what's up? I know you walk home every day. Would you mind if I walked with you? I head in the same direction. This was a lie. Daniel's penthouse was in the opposite direction, but Emery didn't need to know that. I'd love the company, Emery said warmly. They walked together through the city streets as the sun began to set. Emery pointed out little things. A flower shop she loved but couldn't afford. A park where she sometimes sat to read library books. A small church where she prayed for her mother every Sunday. Tell me about your mom, Daniel said gently. Emery's face softened. She's the strongest woman I know. She has stage 3 cancer. The doctors say she's responding to treatment, but it's slow and expensive. Is there anything I can do to help? Emery stopped walking and looked at him with such genuine affection that Daniel's heart skipped. You already do help, Danny. You're my friend. In a place where people look through me like I'm invisible, you see me. That means more than you know. They reached Emery's building, a rundown apartment complex in a rough neighborhood. Daniel's protective instincts kicked in. You live here alone? He asked, concerned. It's all I can afford right now, but I'm saving up. Hopefully I can move somewhere better soon. Daniel made a mental note. He would have Shannon discreetly ensure Emery's building had better security, better maintenance, and perhaps some unexpected rent reductions. Same time tomorrow? Emery asked hopefully. Absolutely. As Daniel walked away, he pulled out his phone and called Shannon. I need you to do something for me. Let me guess, something involving Emery Rodriguez. Her mother has stage 3 cancer. Find out which hospital, which doctor, what treatment. I want all medical bills covered immediately. Set it up as an anonymous donation through the company's charitable foundation. Consider it done. But Daniel, she's going to find out eventually. I know, but until then, let me help her without the complications. You're falling hard for this girl, aren't you? Daniel looked back at Emery's building. I already fell, Shannon. Now I'm just trying to figure out how to land safely. 3 days later, Emery burst into the cleaning supply room where Daniel was organizing mops. Her face was flushed with excitement, tears streaming down her cheeks. Danny! Danny, you won't believe it! What happened? Are you okay? I just got a call from the hospital. Someone made an anonymous donation to cover all of my mother's medical bills. All of them. Every single treatment, every medication, everything. She threw her arms around Daniel in pure joy. It's a miracle. I've been praying for a miracle, and it happened. Daniel held her, feeling the weight of his deception. He wanted to tell her the truth right then, but how could he ruin this moment? That's incredible news, Emery. She pulled back, wiping her tears. I can't stop crying. I've been carrying this weight for so long and suddenly it's just gone. Someone out there, some angel, decided to help us. Your mother must be very special to inspire that kind of generosity. She is. She's everything to me. Emery laughed through her tears. I wish I knew who did this so I could thank them properly. Maybe they don't need thanks, Daniel said softly. Maybe they just wanted to help. Emery looked at him with those warm, honest eyes. You know what? You're right. The universe sent us help when we needed it most. I'm just grateful. That evening, as Daniel sat in his penthouse, he received an unexpected visitor. His younger sister, Amanda Sterling, burst through the door without knocking. I heard you're working as a janitor, she announced, dropping her designer purse on his couch. Please tell me Shannon is joking. He's not joking. Amanda stared at her brother in disbelief. Daniel, you're the CEO of a billion-dollar company. What are you doing? Looking for something real. Real? You can have real. Just hire a team to vet potential partners like a normal rich person. Daniel laughed. That's exactly the problem, Amanda. Nothing about our world is normal. Everyone wants something from us. Amanda sat down, her expression softening. Is this about Jessica? Because she was a terrible person, and you're better off without her. Jessica was Daniel's last fiancée. He had discovered she was having an affair with his business rival while planning to take half his assets in a prenup. It had been the final straw. It's not just about Jessica. It's about all of them. 3 engagements, 3 disasters. I needed to try something different. So you became a janitor. So I became invisible. And you know what I found? A woman who treats the invisible with kindness. A woman who works 2 jobs to care for her sick mother. A woman who smiles even when life is hard. Amanda studied her brother's face. You're in love with her. I am. Does she know who you are? Not yet. Daniel, this is going to blow up in your face. Probably, but for once in my life, I'm living honestly. As Danny the janitor, I'm more real than I've ever been as Daniel Sterling, billionaire. Amanda stood and hugged her brother. I hope she's worth it. And when you're ready to tell her the truth, I want to meet her. You will, soon. The next day at work, something happened that would accelerate Daniel's timeline. He was cleaning the executive conference room when the door burst open. A man in an expensive suit stormed in. Richard Blackwell, CEO of Blackwell Industries and Daniel's main business competitor. Richard didn't notice Daniel in the corner. He was too busy yelling into his phone. I don't care what it takes. Find out everything about Sterling's new project. If we can't compete, we'll sabotage. Buy off his suppliers, poach his employees, spread rumors to his investors. Daniel Sterling needs to learn he can't dominate this industry forever. Daniel continued cleaning quietly, making mental notes of every word. Richard ended his call and finally noticed Daniel. You, janitor, get out. This is a private area. Sorry, sir, just finishing up. As Daniel left, he immediately texted Shannon with everything he'd overheard. By the end of the day, Daniel's legal team had filed complaints with the Business Ethics Board, and several of Richard's shady practices were under investigation. But that wasn't the interesting part. The interesting part happened when Emery came running up to Daniel during lunch. "Danny, something weird just happened." "What?" "You know Richard Blackwell, the guy who was in the building for meetings this morning?" Daniel's stomach tightened. "What about him?" "He saw me in the hallway and offered me a job. Said he needed someone to clean his private office. Offered me 3 times what I make here." Daniel felt anger rise in his chest. Richard was trying to poach Emery, probably as a way to get closer to Sterling Tech's operations. "What did you tell him?" "I said no, of course." "You did?" Emery looked at Daniel like he was crazy. "Danny, I'm not leaving. I have friends here. I have you. Money isn't everything." In that moment, Daniel knew with absolute certainty that Emery Rodriguez was the woman he wanted to spend his life with. "Emery, can I tell you something?" "Of course." Daniel was about to reveal everything when an alarm blared through the building. Emergency evacuation. Everyone rushed toward the exits. In the chaos, Daniel lost sight of Emery. He pushed through crowds of people, his heart racing. Then he heard screaming from the stairwell. Daniel ran toward the sound and found Emery on the landing between floors. An elderly security guard had collapsed, clutching his chest. "He's having a heart attack," Emery said, already on her phone calling 911. "Danny, help me." Daniel immediately began CPR while Emery spoke with emergency services. Other employees passed by, too concerned with their own evacuation to stop and help. But Emery stayed. Even as smoke began to fill the building from what turned out to be a small kitchen fire, she stayed with the elderly guard, holding his hand and talking to him calmly. "It's okay, Mr. Patterson. Help is coming. You're going to be fine." The paramedics arrived within minutes. As they took over, Daniel and Emery were the last to evacuate the building. Outside, covered in soot and exhausted, Emery turned to Daniel. "That was scary. You were amazing in there. Most people just ran past." Emery shrugged. "Mr. Patterson is a good man. He always says hello to me every morning. I couldn't just leave him." Shannon appeared in the crowd, looking directly at Daniel. "We need to talk. Now." Daniel followed Shannon to his car, out of Emery's earshot. "The fire was deliberately set," Shannon said grimly. "Security caught the perpetrator. It was Richard Blackwell's assistant. They were trying to destroy your files on the Hartford project." Daniel's jaw clenched. "Is anyone hurt besides Mr. Patterson?" "No. But Daniel, this has gone far enough. Blackwell is dangerous. You need to stop playing janitor and handle this as yourself." "Not yet." "Daniel." "I said not yet. I'm close, Shannon. Give me a few more days." Shannon sighed. "You're going to get your heart broken, my friend. Or worse, you're going to break hers." That evening, Daniel called Emery. "Hey, are you okay after today?" he asked. "I'm fine. A little shaken up, but fine. How are you?" "I was wondering if you'd like to have dinner with me tomorrow. Nothing fancy, just dinner." There was a pause. "Danny, are you asking me on a date?" Yes, I am." Another pause, longer this time. "I'd like that. But Danny, I should tell you something first." Daniel's heart raced. "What is it?" "I like you. More than as a friend. And I know we're just janitors, and I know we don't have much, but I think there's something real between us. Am I crazy?" Daniel smiled, relief flooding through him. "You're not crazy. I feel it too." "Okay then, dinner tomorrow. But somewhere cheap, okay? I can't afford fancy restaurants. I know a perfect place." The next evening, Daniel picked Emery up in his oldest, most modest car. A 10-year-old sedan he kept for situations like this. He took her to a small, family-owned Italian restaurant in her neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but the food was authentic and delicious. Emery looked beautiful in a simple dress. No designer labels, no expensive jewelry. Just natural beauty and a genuine smile. "This place is perfect," she said, looking around at the cozy restaurant. They talked for hours. Emery shared stories about her childhood, her dreams of finishing nursing school someday, her love for her mother. Daniel shared carefully edited versions of his own stories, staying as close to the truth as possible without revealing his identity. "You know what I love about you, Danny?" Emery said as they shared tiramisu for dessert. "What?" "You listen. Really listen. Most people just wait for their turn to talk, but you actually care about what I'm saying. That's because what you say matters to me." Emery reached across the table and took his hand. "I know we haven't known each other long, but I feel like I've known you forever. I feel the same way. Can I be honest about something?" "Always." Emery hesitated, then spoke. "I've dated before. Back in college, before everything fell apart. Those guys looked at me like I was a stepping stone to something better, like I wasn't quite enough. But you, Danny, you look at me like I'm everything." Daniel's heart nearly burst. "That's because you are." They left the restaurant, walking hand in hand. Daniel walked Emery to her apartment building, and at her door, they shared their first kiss. It was soft, sweet, and completely genuine. No expectations, no agendas. Just two people who had found something real in an unlikely place. As Daniel drove away that night, he knew he couldn't keep up the charade much longer. Emery deserved to know the truth. He called Shannon, set up a meeting for Monday morning. Board members, senior staff, everyone. "I'm going to reveal everything." "About time," Shannon said. "What changed your mind?" "She deserves honesty. If we're going to have a real relationship, it has to be built on truth, not deception." "What if she can't forgive you for lying?" Daniel was quiet for a moment. "Then I'll have found exactly what I was looking for, someone who values truth over wealth. Either way, I'll know she's real." Monday would change everything. The question was whether it would end in happiness or heartbreak. Monday morning arrived with storm clouds gathering over the city. Daniel stood in his private office on the top floor of Sterling Tech Tower, the floor he hadn't visited in over a month while playing janitor. Shannon entered with 2 cups of coffee. "Everything's set. The board meeting starts in 1 hour. But Daniel, there's something you need to know." "What is it?" "Emery called in sick this morning. Apparently her mother took a turn for the worse last night. She's at the hospital." Daniel's heart sank. "Which hospital?" "St. Mary's." "But Daniel, you can't just show up there as yourself. She doesn't know who you are yet." "I don't care. Text me the room number." 40 minutes later, Daniel walked into St. Mary's Hospital, still dressed in his janitor's uniform. He found Emery in the ICU waiting room, her head in her hands. "Emery!" She looked up, her eyes red from crying. "Danny, what are you doing here?" "Shannon told me your mom got worse. I wanted to make sure you're okay." Fresh tears spilled down Emery's cheeks. "She had complications from the treatment. They don't know if she's going to make it through the day." Daniel sat beside her and pulled her into his arms. She sobbed against his chest while he held her, wishing he could take away her pain. "I should have spent more time with her," Emery cried. "I've been so focused on working, on making money for her treatment, that I forgot to just be with her." "She knows you love her." "Does she? When's the last time I just sat with her and talked? When's the last time I told her she's my hero?" A doctor approached them. "Ms. Rodriguez?" Emery jumped up. "Yes, how is she?" The doctor smiled softly. "She's stable. The crisis has passed. You can see her now, but only for a few minutes." Emery nearly collapsed with relief. Daniel steadied her. "Thank you," she whispered to the doctor, then turned to Daniel. "Come with me. I want her to meet you." Daniel followed Emery into the ICU room. Maria Rodriguez lay in the hospital bed, frail but conscious. When she saw her daughter, her face lit up. "Mija," she whispered. "Mama." Emery rushed to her bedside, taking her mother's hand carefully. "You scared me." "I'm sorry, baby. I'm okay now." Maria's eyes shifted to Daniel. "Who is this?" "This is Danny, Mama. He's my friend from work." Maria studied Daniel with the knowing eyes of a mother. "Just a friend?" Emery blushed. "Mama, please." But Maria smiled. "Come closer, young man." Daniel approached the bed. Maria took his hand with surprising strength. "You treat my daughter well?" "I try my best, ma'am. She's the most precious thing in my world. She gave up everything to take care of me. She deserves someone who will cherish her. I know she does. Maria's eyes narrowed slightly, still holding his hand. You have kind eyes, but I sense you're carrying a heavy secret. Daniel's breath caught. How could she know? Mama, you're tired, Emery interjected. You should rest. But Maria continued looking at Daniel. Whatever you're hiding, tell her soon. My daughter has been lied to before. It nearly broke her. Don't do that to her. I won't, Daniel promised. I plan to tell her everything today. Emery looked confused. Tell me what? Danny, what's she talking about? Before Daniel could answer, his phone buzzed urgently. Shannon, emergency. Blackwell just called a press conference announcing a hostile takeover of Sterling Tech. You need to get here, now. Daniel's mind raced. He looked at Emery, then at her mother, then back at his phone. I have to go, he said abruptly. I'm sorry. There's an emergency at work. An emergency? Danny, you're a janitor. What kind of emergency? I'll explain everything later, I promise. Daniel kissed her forehead. Stay with your mother. I'll call you as soon as I can. He rushed out, leaving Emery staring after him in confusion. 20 minutes later, Daniel burst into the Sterling Tech executive conference room. His board members looked up in shock, seeing their CEO in a janitor's uniform. Daniel? What on earth? Board member Patricia Wilson started. No time, Daniel cut her off. Shannon, what's Blackwell's play? Shannon pulled up the live press conference on the screen. Richard Blackwell stood at a podium looking smug. Today, Blackwell Industries announces our intention to acquire Sterling Tech, Richard declared. With Daniel Sterling mysteriously absent from his company for the past month, it's clear he's lost interest in leading. Sterling Tech's shareholders deserve better. He's been buying up shares through shell companies, Shannon explained. He now owns 18%. If he can convince other major shareholders to sell, he could take control. Not happening, Daniel said firmly. Get legal on the phone. I want every one of his shell companies exposed, and schedule an emergency shareholder meeting for this afternoon. Daniel, Patricia Wilson spoke up again, where have you been? And why are you dressed like that? Daniel looked down at his janitor's uniform. I've been doing research, Patricia, learning things about this company that I never would have seen from the top floor. Research? By working as a janitor? By seeing how we treat the people who make this company function. And I didn't like everything I saw. He turned to Shannon. After we handle Blackwell, I want a complete review of our employee treatment policies, starting with wage increases for all support staff, better health benefits, and a new respect initiative. Shannon smiled. Emery's influence, I presume? She showed me what leadership really looks like. Now let's show Blackwell what happens when he underestimates Sterling Tech. 3 hours later, Daniel stood at his own press conference. He'd changed into a suit, but he'd brought his janitor's uniform with him. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, I'm Daniel Sterling, CEO of Sterling Tech. For the past month, I've been working undercover in my own company as a janitor. Reporters erupted with questions. Daniel raised a hand for silence. I did this to understand the true culture of my company, to see how we treat the people who keep our offices clean, who keep our buildings running, who make everything we do possible. And what I learned was eye-opening. He held up the janitor's uniform. In this uniform, I was invisible. People said things in front of me they would never say to a CEO. They treated me in ways they would never treat someone they considered important. And I learned that we have work to do as a company and as a society. Daniel's eyes found the camera. As for Mr. Blackwell's hostile takeover attempt, I have this to say. Sterling Tech is not for sale. Our shareholders know the value of this company, and they know leadership isn't about being present every moment. It's about understanding what matters. I understand now more than ever. After the press conference, Daniel rushed to his car. He needed to find Emery and tell her everything before she heard it on the news. But when he arrived at the hospital, Emery was gone. Her mother's room was empty too. Daniel called her phone. It went straight to voicemail. He tried again. Nothing. A nurse approached him. Are you looking for Ms. Rodriguez? Yes, where is she? Her mother was discharged an hour ago. Ms. Rodriguez took her home. Daniel drove to Emery's apartment. He knocked on her door repeatedly. No answer. He called Shannon. I can't find her. Daniel, the press conference is everywhere. CNN, MSNBC, every business channel. She's seen it by now. I need to talk to her. I need to explain. Maybe you should give her space to process this. No, I can't leave things like this. Daniel waited outside Emery's apartment building for 3 hours. Finally, as the sun began to set, he saw her walking down the street, grocery bags in hand. She stopped when she saw him. Her face was unreadable. Emery, please, let me explain. She walked past him toward her building entrance. Emery, please. She stopped but didn't turn around. You're Daniel Sterling. Yes. The billionaire, the CEO. Yes. And you lied to me. You pretended to be someone you're not. I didn't lie about my feelings. Everything between us was real. Emery finally turned to face him. Her eyes were filled with tears, but her voice was steady. How can I believe that? How can I believe anything you say? You've been playing a game this whole time. It wasn't a game. I was looking for something real, and I found it with you. Something real? Emery's voice rose. Real would have been telling me the truth. Real would have been trusting me with who you are. I know I should have told you sooner. You made a fool of me, Daniel. I told you about my problems, my mother's medical bills, my struggles, and the whole time, you could have helped with a snap of your fingers. I did help. The anonymous donation. Emery's eyes widened. That was you? You paid my mother's medical bills? Yes. Oh my God. She backed away from him. You think you can just buy people? Buy their loyalty? Buy their love? No, that's not what I don't need your charity. I don't need your money. I needed honesty, and you couldn't give me that. Emery, please, just let me explain everything. She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. I need you to leave, Daniel. I need time to think. Emery, please, just go. Daniel stood there, watching her walk into her building. The door closed behind her, and he felt like his heart had closed with it. He had found true love, only to lose it through his own deception. Shannon had been right. The truth had come out at the worst possible time. The next morning, Daniel sat in his penthouse, staring at his phone. He'd typed and deleted 100 text messages to Emery. Nothing felt right. His sister Amanda arrived with breakfast. I saw the press conference, very dramatic. I lost her, Amanda. You don't know that. You should have seen her face. She thinks I was playing games with her. Amanda sat beside her brother. Were you? What? No, I fell in love with her. Then fight for her. You're Daniel Sterling. You've built a billion-dollar empire from nothing. Surely you can figure out how to win back one woman. It's not about winning her back. It's about earning her trust. And I don't know if that's possible. Then start by respecting her space. Give her time to process. Meanwhile, show her through actions, not words, that your feelings were genuine. At Sterling Tech, Daniel threw himself into work. But he also made changes, real changes, inspired by Emery. He increased wages for all support staff by 30%. He implemented new healthcare benefits that covered family members. He created an employee assistance program for those facing financial hardships. He also personally visited Mr. Patterson, the security guard who'd had a heart attack. Daniel ensured his medical bills were covered and offered him a pension if he chose to retire. You're the janitor who helped save my life, Mr. Patterson said from his hospital bed. I'm also the CEO who should have known your name long before that day, Daniel replied. That's changing. I'm getting to know every person who works for our company. Word spread quickly through Sterling Tech. The CEO who had worked as a janitor was now revolutionizing company culture. But the person Daniel most wanted to notice, Emery, remained silent. 2 weeks passed. Daniel respected Emery's request for space, though it killed him. He knew she was back at work. Shannon had confirmed it. But she'd apparently requested a transfer to the night shift to avoid running into Daniel. Then, on a Friday evening, Daniel received an unexpected call. Mr. Sterling, this is Maria Rodriguez, Emery's mother. Daniel's heart jumped. Mrs. Rodriguez, how are you feeling? Much better, thank you. And thank you for the medical bills, though my daughter is still upset about that. I understand. I'm sorry for the deception. That's why I'm calling. I'd like to speak with you. Can you come to our apartment tomorrow morning? Of course. What time? 10 o'clock. And Mr. Sterling, come as yourself, not as Danny the janitor. The next morning, Daniel arrived at Emery's apartment building wearing casual clothes, jeans and a simple shirt, nothing flashy. Maria answered the door. She looked much healthier than the last time he'd seen her. Come in, please. The apartment was tiny but immaculately clean. Family photos covered one wall. Emery as a child, Emery graduating high school, Emery with her mother at various celebrations. Emery is at the market, Maria said. She doesn't know you're here. We have about an hour. Mrs. Rodriguez, I want to apologize. Maria raised her hand. Let me speak first. I've lived 62 years on this earth. I've seen good people and bad people. I've seen rich people and poor people. And I've learned that wealth and character have nothing to do with each other. She sat down, gesturing for Daniel to join her. When I met you at the hospital, I saw something in your eyes. Fear. Not fear of my illness or the hospital, but fear of losing my daughter. That's when I knew you truly cared for her. I love her, Mrs. Rodriguez. I believe you, but love isn't enough. My daughter has been hurt before. In college, she dated a boy from a wealthy family. When his parents found out he was seeing the poor scholarship girl, they paid her to leave him alone. Daniel felt anger rise in his chest. They paid her? $5,000 to end the relationship and never contact their son again. Emery took the money, not for herself, but because I was sick even then and needed medication we couldn't afford. She sacrificed her happiness for me. I would never do that to her. I know, but you did lie to her. You pretended to be someone you're not. In her mind, that's the same kind of betrayal. Daniel leaned forward. How do I fix this? I'll do anything. Maria smiled sadly. You can't fix it. Only Emery can decide if she can trust you again. But I can tell you what might help. Please, stop trying to prove yourself with money or grand gestures. Emery doesn't want a billionaire sweeping her off her feet. She wants Danny, the man who walked her home, who listened to her stories, who made her feel seen. But I am Danny. That was the real me, just without the title. Then show her that. Show her that Daniel Sterling and Danny the janitor are the same person. That the uniform didn't make you kind. You were already kind. The money didn't make you generous. You were already generous. Daniel nodded slowly, understanding. Thank you, Mrs. Rodriguez. Call me Maria, please. And one more thing. Don't give up on her. My daughter is stubborn, but she's fair. If you're patient and genuine, she'll come around. As Daniel left the building, he felt hope for the first time in 2 weeks. He spent the weekend thinking about Maria's advice. Monday morning, he implemented his plan. Daniel showed up at Sterling Tech in his janitor's uniform. The reception desk staff gasped. Mr. Sterling? I'll be working janitorial for the next month, he announced. Shannon will handle my executive duties. If anyone needs me, I'll be on the 20th floor. Word spread like wildfire. By noon, the entire company was bouncing, and on the 20th floor, Emery stood frozen, watching Daniel mop the same hallway where they first met. He looked up and saw her, their eyes locked. Hello, Emery. She didn't respond, just walked past him toward the supply closet. Daniel continued mopping. He didn't chase her. He didn't try to explain. He simply worked. This became his routine. Every day, Daniel worked as a janitor on Emery's floor. He ate lunch in the employee cafeteria. He walked the same paths Emery walked. But he never approached her directly. He simply existed in her space, showing her through his actions that he was still the same person she'd fallen for. On the third day, Emery spoke to him for the first time. This is ridiculous. You're the CEO. I'm also a janitor. I did the job before. I can do it again. This is some kind of stunt. It's not a stunt. It's who I am. Emery shook her head and walked away, but Daniel noticed something. The anger in her eyes had softened slightly. By the end of the first week, small changes appeared. Emery stopped avoiding the areas where Daniel worked. She didn't speak to him, but she didn't go out of her way to avoid him either. In the second week, Daniel found a note taped to his cleaning cart. The bathroom on the west side needs attention. E. It was the first communication she'd initiated. Daniel smiled and immediately went to clean that bathroom, making sure it was spotless. The next day, another note. Don't forget the windows in conference room C. Daniel began leaving his own notes in response. Windows cleaned. How's your mother feeling? Emery's next note. She's good. Asking about you. The notes continued, creating a silent conversation between them. In the third week, Emery finally spoke to him face-to-face during lunch. Can I sit here? Daniel looked up from his sandwich, the same kind of simple lunch he used to bring as Danny. Please. They ate in silence for a few minutes before Emery spoke. My mother likes you. I like her too. She says I should forgive you. Daniel set down his sandwich. What do you think? I think you broke my trust. I think you lied about who you were. You're right, I did. But, Emery paused, choosing her words carefully. I also think the man sitting here right now is the same man I fell for. Janitor or CEO, you're still you. I am. I'm still the person who walked you home, who helped Mr. Patterson, who thinks you're the most incredible woman he's ever met. Emery's eyes glistened. Why did you lie, Daniel? Really, tell me the truth. Because I've been used my entire life. Every relationship, every friendship, people always wanted something from me. My money, my connections, my status. I needed to know that someone could love me for just being me. And you found that? Yes, with you. You loved Danny, the janitor with nothing. That's when I knew you were real. Emery was quiet for a long moment. I was falling in love with you too, before I knew the truth. Daniel's heart soared. Was? She looked at him directly. I'm still falling, even though I'm angry, even though I feel betrayed. I can't stop what I feel. Emery, but I need time, Daniel. I need to process all of this. The lie, the truth, what it all means. I understand. I'll wait as long as you need. Emery stood to leave, then paused. Thank you for respecting my space, and thank you for showing me you're still you. As she walked away, Daniel felt hope bloom in his chest. 1 month later, Daniel stood in his penthouse watching the sunrise. He'd continued working as a janitor 3 days a week while handling CEO duties the other days. The board thought he was crazy, but the employees loved him. Sterling Tech's culture had transformed. Staff turnover dropped to record lows. Employee satisfaction scores soared. And perhaps most importantly, Daniel had built genuine relationships with people throughout the company. But the relationship he cared about most remained uncertain. Emery had been cordial but distant. They talked occasionally, shared lunch a few times, but she hadn't given him a clear answer about whether they had a future together. His phone rang. Shannon. Turn on Channel 7 News, now. Daniel grabbed the remote. On screen, Richard Blackwell stood in handcuffs being led into a police car. Arrested this morning on charges of corporate espionage, fraud, and attempted arson, the reporter announced. Evidence provided by Sterling Tech revealed a pattern of illegal activities spanning several years. Daniel smiled. Justice, finally. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Saw the news. Congratulations. You got him. Emery. Daniel's fingers flew across the keyboard. We got him. Your defense of me that day in the hallway started everything. Thank you. Emery. I just did what was right. Daniel. That's what I love about you. You always do what's right. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Emery. Can we talk? In person? Daniel's heart raced. When and where? Emery. The park where I used to sit and read. 1 hour? Daniel. I'll be there. 55 minutes later, Daniel sat on a bench in the small neighborhood park Emery had pointed out during their walks. The sun filtered through trees, and children played on nearby swings. Emery appeared wearing a simple sundress, her hair loose around her shoulders. She looked beautiful. Hi, she said softly. Hi. She sat beside him, maintaining a small distance. I've been doing a lot of thinking. Me too. I talked to my mother. I talked to my priest. I even talked to Mr. Patterson at the hospital. Everyone had opinions about what I should do. What did they say? Emery smiled slightly. They all said the same thing. Follow my heart. Daniel waited, barely breathing. I've been hurt before, Daniel. Really hurt. And when I found out you lied to me, all those old wounds opened up. I felt like I was being used again, like I wasn't enough just as I am. Emery, you are more than enough. She raised her hand gently. Let me finish. I know you didn't lie to hurt me. I understand why you did it, but understanding doesn't erase the pain. Daniel's heart sank. However, Emery continued, I also can't ignore what I saw. You didn't just apologize with words. You apologized with actions. You put on that uniform again and showed me you're still the same person. Because I am. I know that now. Danny the janitor and Daniel the CEO, they're both you. And honestly, I fell in love with both versions. Daniel's breath caught. You love me? Emery nodded, tears forming in her eyes. I tried not to. I tried to be angry, to protect my heart. But watching you this past month, seeing how you change the company, how you treat people with respect regardless of their position, I couldn't help it. Emery, I'm scared, Daniel. Scared of your world, scared of getting hurt again, scared that maybe I'm not ready for all of this. Daniel reached for her hand slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. I'm scared too, he admitted. Scared of losing you. Scared of messing this up. Scared that my world will somehow damage what we have. But I've learned something important this past year. What's that? Love isn't about perfection. It's not about grand gestures or perfect timing. It's about showing up, being honest, and choosing each other every day. I want to choose you, Emery, every single day. Tears streamed down Emery's face. Even though I'm just a janitor with a sick mother and student debt. You're not just anything. You're Emery Rodriguez, the woman who stood up to Victoria Hayes when no one else would. The woman who stayed with Mr. Patterson when everyone else ran. The woman who showed me what real character looks like. Emery laughed through her tears. You're really good at speeches. I'm a CEO. It's part of the job description. She squeezed his hand. I want to try, Daniel. But we do this slowly. No rushing. No pressure. I need time to adjust to your world. We'll go as slow as you need. And Emery, my world is wherever you are. Emery leaned her head on his shoulder. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the children play, holding hands like two normal people in love. What happens now? Emery asked. Now we figure it out together, one day at a time. 6 months later, Sterling Tech held its annual charity gala. Daniel stood in his tuxedo, watching the ballroom fill with Atlanta's elite, but his eyes were locked on the entrance. When Emery appeared, the room seemed to stop. She wore an elegant navy dress, not overly expensive or flashy, just perfectly her. Her hair was styled simply, and she wore minimal jewelry, but she outshone every person in that room. Daniel met her at the entrance. You're stunning, Emery smiled nervously. I feel out of place. You belong here more than anyone. You're here because of who you are, not what you have. Throughout the evening, Daniel introduced Emery to business associates, board members, and major donors. Some seemed surprised that Daniel Sterling was dating a former janitor. Others warmed to Emery immediately, charmed by her genuine nature. Amanda Sterling appeared with her fiancé. So you're the famous Emery? That's me, Emery replied, extending her hand. Amanda pulled her into a hug instead. Thank you for making my brother human again. Later, as they danced, Emery whispered, Your sister is wonderful. She likes you. That's rare. What about the rest of your world? Do they accept me? Daniel looked around the ballroom. Some people were watching them, whispering. Others smiled approvingly. The ones who matter accept you. The ones who don't matter can think whatever they want. You're with me because I love you, not because you need anyone's approval. Emery rested her head against his chest. I love you too. I don't think I've actually said that out loud before. Say it again. She looked up at him. her eyes shining. I love you, Daniel Sterling, billionaire, CEO, and part-time janitor. I love you too, Emery Rodriguez, janitor, nurse-to-be, and the woman who saved my life. I didn't save your life. Yes, you did. You saved me from a life without meaning, without real connection, without love. You showed me what truly matters. As they swayed to the music, Daniel felt complete. He'd found what he was looking for, not just love, but truth. 1 year later, Daniel and Emery stood in a small church surrounded by family and close friends. Nothing extravagant or flashy, just an intimate celebration of love. Maria Rodriguez sat in the front row, healthy and beaming with pride. Beside her sat Amanda, Shannon, Mr. Patterson, and dozens of Sterling Tech employees who had become their friends. The priest smiled at the couple. Daniel, your vows. Daniel took Emery's hands, his voice strong and clear. Emery, 1 year ago, I was a man pretending to be someone else, searching for something real. You gave me truth. You gave me purpose. You showed me that love isn't found in boardrooms or bank accounts. It's found in simple moments, honest conversations, and genuine kindness. He paused, emotion catching in his throat. You loved me when you thought I had nothing. That's when I knew you were everything. I promise to honor that love every day for the rest of our lives. Emery wiped tears from her eyes before speaking. Daniel, when I met you, you were Danny, a janitor with kind eyes and a humble heart. Later, I learned you were also a billionaire CEO. But you know what? It didn't change who you were to me. Because underneath every title, every dollar, every disguise, you're still the same man who walked me home, who defended me, who saw me when everyone else looked past me. She squeezed his hands. I don't love you because of what you have. I love you because of who you are. And I promise to remind you of that truth every single day. The priest pronounced them husband and wife. As they kissed, the small church erupted in applause. At the reception, held in Sterling Tech's transformed employee cafeteria at Emery's insistence, Daniel gave a toast. My wife, he began, the word feeling perfect on his tongue, taught me the most valuable lesson I've ever learned. She taught me that true love isn't about pretending to be someone else. It's about being exactly who you are and finding someone who loves that person. He looked at Emery, who sat beside him glowing with happiness. I pretended to be a janitor to find true love. What I discovered was that I didn't need to pretend to be anything. I just needed to be myself and wait for someone special enough to see me. Emery stood and took the microphone, and I learned that love sees beyond surfaces. Whether Daniel wore a janitor's uniform or a $1,000 suit, he was still the same person underneath. That's what matters. She raised her glass. To seeing people for who they truly are, not what they appear to be. To truth, Daniel added, clinking his glass against hers. To love, Shannon called out. To love, everyone echoed. As the evening progressed, Daniel found himself surrounded by employees from every level of Sterling Tech. Vice presidents mingled with janitors. Board members chatted with cafeteria workers. The hierarchy had dissolved into simple human connection. Mr. Patterson approached with his wife. Mr. Sterling, Daniel, I want to thank you. For what? For showing this old security guard that everyone matters. That story about you working as a janitor spread through the whole company. People treat each other differently now, with more respect. That was Emery's influence, not mine. It was both of you, Mr. Patterson's wife said. You two showed everyone that love and respect don't depend on job titles. Later, as Daniel and Emery danced their first dance as husband and wife, she whispered, Did you ever imagine this, when you first put on that janitor uniform? Honestly, no. I hoped to find someone genuine, but you exceeded every hope, every dream. Even though I'm not from your world, Daniel pulled back to look at her. You are my world. The rest is just background noise. Emery smiled. You still know exactly what to say. CEO, remember? Professional speech giver. She laughed, that genuine, joyful laugh he'd fallen in love with. Well, this janitor girl managed to land herself a billionaire. Not bad. This billionaire managed to convince the most incredible woman in the world to take a chance on him. I'd say I got the better deal. As they swayed together, surrounded by loved ones, Daniel reflected on his journey. He'd pretended to be poor to find true love. But in the end, he discovered that love wasn't about rich or poor, CEO or janitor, mansion or studio apartment. Love was about two people who chose to see each other, really see each other, beyond all the external trappings. It was about Emery defending a stranger because it was right, not because it was profitable. It was about Daniel learning to value people for their character, not their position. It was about both of them being brave enough to be honest, vulnerable, and real. 3 months later, Daniel and Emery stood in front of a new building. The sign read, "The Emery Rodriguez Scholarship Fund, providing educational opportunities for healthcare workers." "You didn't have to do this," Emery said, tears in her eyes. "Yes, I did. You never got to finish nursing school because you were taking care of your mother. This ensures others don't have to make that choice." Emery turned to face him. "You know what the best part is? This isn't about your money. It's about using what you have to help others achieve their dreams. That's what love looks like." Daniel wrapped his arms around her. "You taught me that. You showed me that wealth is meaningless unless you use it to make a difference." As they stood together, looking at the building that would change countless lives, Daniel felt a profound sense of peace. He'd gone searching for true love disguised as a janitor. What he'd found was so much more: a partner, a purpose, and a new understanding of what truly mattered in life. Emery had changed everything, not because she was wealthy or connected or influential, but because she was genuine, kind, and real. And in the end, that was the greatest treasure of all. As they walked hand in hand back to their car, Daniel glanced back at the scholarship building one more time. "Thank you," he whispered. "For what?" Emery asked. "For seeing Danny the janitor when the rest of the world only saw dollar signs. For loving me before you knew my last name. For showing me that true love isn't something you find by pretending. It's something you build by being honest." Emery squeezed his hand. "And thank you for being brave enough to step down from your tower and walk among regular people. For choosing truth over pride. For showing me that fairy tales can be real." They drove home together as the sun set over Atlanta, a billionaire and his janitor bride, proving that love doesn't need disguises. It just needs two people willing to see each other clearly. And they lived honestly, humbly, and genuinely ever after.